Hello and welcome to another episode of paiagroject, the unofficial podcast about the board game Gaia project. What you're hearing now is the very relaxed voice of Simolfo, aka Simone from BGS. And I said that my voice is really relaxed, and you're hearing my voice instead of my friend Matteo, because Matteo is very tired today due to work. And not only is he very tired, because of all the responsibility the work's put on his shoulder, but also because he's in charge of this Nevla episode, our Nevla guide of today. So I'll be the one asking questions. He'll be the one answering them. How does that make you feel, Matteo?
Hi. Yeah, the burden is consistent, but I'll try to
The struggle
deal
is
with
real.
The struggle is real, but I'll try to deal with that, right? For our listeners, for the community, for the game.
For Gaia project, exactly.
Yeah.
For all you geeks out there, do we have some errata before we actually move into the meat of the episode?
Well, not really. They just told us that the episode with Arun was good, which is fine. Thank you.
And it is what?
I forgot last time, but a while ago, Himmelsgucker wrote us this, which it's not really an errata, but it's a really kind message. So I'd like to thank him for writing us that the day before he wrote us, played his first game of Gaia Project for 2 years. And so he went to BGG, found us, and started binging on our podcast, which in itself is great. Thank you, Himmelsgucker. But then he writes something very kind, very nice, which is very in-depth, giving me the feel of true experts talking about the game they love. I have played in an online format, so I probably won't try Board Gamer Space, but I wanted to say thanks anyway, even if I won't play a lot of Gaia Project in the next month. Greetings from Germany, Felix. Thank you, Felix.
Thank you, Felix. Shout out for Felix. I have this feeling that our listeners find more into the show than we actually put in it. Otherwise, it is unexplainable how people, after listening, to our guides, reach these amazing results in their games. I don't know. We keep losing games, but well, I do for sure.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't tell you before. But Galberger writes me again about another game which he played with Gleans using our guide. It's like a bit of a Galberg regular moment in our podcast. I really like.
I love that we have a Galberg moment in the podcast.
Yeah, me too. He's very kind in telling me his successes, but no, this time I won't tell you how much he scored with Gleans this time, because it's ridiculous.
Let's say he scored very good.
Yeah, no, better.
All right. Somebody stop Galberg.
Stop Galberg. 200 and, no, in the end I'm telling you 221 with Gleans, but seriously.
All right.
I'm afraid of Nevlas.
Was that a 4 players game, however? I'm asking because one of the things that Himmelsgucker, I mispronounced that. My German is very bad. No, my German is non-existent. It's not that it's bad. It's just non-existent. So one thing that the Himmelsgucker asked us is if we plan on making special episodes dedicated to the 3-player and 2-player versions of the game. And as of today, we are not planning that. We feel that 4-player games are the most commonly played format and also probably the most balanced version of the game. So we plan on covering, the regular stuff first, and that includes all the faction guides with a specific focus on our 4-player games, and then the future, who knows, right?
Yeah, we have not planned specifically for different formats episode yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, if enough people ask us, why not? I say the only thing is that I think that the 3 players game could be better for learning the factions, because unless you play with the weird 8 sectors map, We have less constraints. There are more advanced styles.
Yeah, probably. It's
available.
easier to get. It's
a bit
normally
easier,
easier
yeah.
to get what you want in a 3-player games. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, Galberg's game was a 3-player game.
All right, okay. But still impressive result.
Impressive.
All right, so this is all as far as ERRATA are concerned, and I'd say we can start finally with our Nevla guide. Cannot we, Matteo?
Yep.
Should I introduce the faction?
Go on.
All right, so I have the Nevlas faction board right here in front of me, and the first thing you can notice if you look at the Nevlas faction board is that it features what is probably the worst artwork among the 14 factions of Gaia. I'm really sad, but very sad I have to say this, but I really don't like the illustration that they put on the Nevlas board. Unlike several other factions, the Nevlas are a bit underwhelming in my opinion, although this kind of trashy hairstyle from the 80s, I don't know, but there's something. There's something to it.
You're a monster. I like that artwork. It conveys all the arrogance of the faction. By the way, have you ever noticed that the Nevla depicted here is a female, likely?
Yeah. Don't know why. But also it has been hypothesized that also the lambted figure that is pictured on the Nevla faction board is a female lambted.
The Lantid faction board, I suppose.
Yeah, what did they say? The Nevlas, no, the Lantid faction board. Yeah, that's supposed to be a female character. I don't know. I know I'm not much into the biology of sea mammals, so I don't know. Whatever. Anyways. Nevlas, what is the first ability that we find printed on the Nevlas faction board? Well, they have a very strong primary ability. That is, they can, as a free action, convert any number of power tokens that they have in the third ball of the power cycle into science points with a 1-to-1 ratio. So you spend one of these power tokens from bowl 3, you put it, you do not discard it, that is important, you do not discard it, you put it in the Gaia section of the power cycle, and you immediately gain 1 knowledge point, and you can do that as many times as you want per round, since it is a free action. So technically they have, at least theoretically, they have the ability of generating huge amounts of knowledge. Also, the Nevlas have another ability, which is they start on the first step of the science track. This is already really good. That means they automatically have an income of 2 knowledge each round, the start of each round. We will see later why this is particularly important in the case of Nevlas, but you can already see that this has a very nice synergy with their primary ability, because with just 2 power tokens in ball 3, you can, you arrive at 4 total knowledge, and so you can take a tech bump. And then, of course, there is their famous PI ability. So the Nevlas PIs are one of these PIs that you're really, really happy when you open. It's like, well, similarly to what happens in the case of their white cousins, the other side of the whiteboard, the ETARs, they have a very powerful PI ability. And so their PI, it's a normal PI, gives them a 4 charge at the start of each round, and plus 1 power token at the start of each round. And then they can spend the power tokens that they have in third section of the power cycle, of course. They can spend them as each one of these power tokens was actually worth 2 power tokens. And so that means that you can take a 4 power action, like 2 ores or 7 credits, with just 2 tokens and not 4 like any other faction except Taklons. So this is very, very interesting, very powerful ability. And this is it. This is everything that you need to know in general about the Nevlas and their abilities.
Well, maybe talk about their research labs as well.
All right, yeah. Okay, yeah. I was thinking of keeping that for later, but it makes sense to mention this now. So the reason that I said is very important, that you are already on step 1 of the science track, and that you already produce 2 knowledge points at the start of each round, is that the Nevlas I have in particular, research lab in that they do not give you science points when they are open. Instead, they each make you charge 2 at the start of each round. This means that if you have one research lab open at the start, let's say round 2, you will charge 2. If you have one research lab and your PI, you will charge 6. If you have 2 research labs and your PI, you will charge 4. If you combine this with the economy track, you see that Nevlas have the ability to charge a lot of power at the start of each round. They are probably the faction that have the highest amount of charge in the game when it comes to start of round charging.
Yes, I ask you to tell them about the research labs now, because the first point I think that we should make about Nevlas is that the faction is all about power and power cycle. This is because not only are power tokens are worth double than regular power tokens, but Nevlas can charge an insane amount during the income phase. As you said, you can combine the economy track, your research labs, your PI, and maybe your round boosters. Oh, and also the 1 charge tile to get to the insane record amount of 19 charge at the beginning of the round.
But in general, it's very easy to get 10, 12 charges at the start of each round.
Yes, it is. And in fact, one thing that we should be mastering is the power management. This is one of the 2 factions which require a very strict power management. Not only because of this ability to spend them as 2, but also because their other faction ability, the ability to freeze 1 power token from bowl 3 to the Gaia bowl, is very related to how much we charge. The other big specialty of Nevlas is science, of course, because they start at 1, and they can. They also have the peculiar advantage that among all factions, Nevlas are the one which, with the greatest ease, can turn those odd amounts of knowledge, which are unusual in groups of 4, into a proper bump on the tracks. This is super important for Nevlas. These 2 abilities are, well, not exactly equal. Let me say that they spend 1 token as if it was 2 is maybe 60% of their power, 70%, while their other native ability grants them the opportunity to adjust their science income to perform those tech bumps which they will need throughout the game.
I mean, I think it's in everybody's experience with Gaia project that you sometimes, at the beginning of the round, you find a very awkward position of having maybe 3 knowledge points or 7 knowledge points, and you need 1 more in order to get 1 full advancement on one of the tech tracks. And so you are in desperate need of, for instance, getting a booster that provides you with that extra knowledge income, or some other way to get that 1 extra knowledge. So the Nevlas never have this problem. The Nevlas can easily round up their knowledge income to make it a multiple of 4, and this is a very interesting ability. Of course, nobody, and Matteo, correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody prevents you, if you really want to do that, to freeze 4 tokens at a time to immediately gain 4 knowledge point and take another bump on one of the tech tracks. I wouldn't say that it's something that is commonly done, because, of course, first of all, you are renouncing to a lot of resources in doing that. And secondly, because all these power tokens that end in the Gaia bowl, at the start of the next round, you will find them in bowl 1, and they will not charge. This is critical. So you will find that next round your power cycle is not as good as it should be. But you have this, if you really are in a desperate situation, or in a situation in which taking that extra bump is super important right now in that moment, then the Nevlas can normally find a way to do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's so bad, actually. I've done that from time to time. Of course, the decision is situational. But if you spend those power to gain knowledge, at best, you will perform the 3 knowledge power action.
Yeah.
And remember that since this is a proper action, as all power action which require an odd number of power, you will lose that extra power that you are not spending. Because if you spend 4, you could spend them as if they were 8. But if the power action, as this is the case, requires 7, then they're gone for good. You just have to spend 4, and your income will be of 3 knowledge. But also,
this is an important point. I forgot to mention this when explaining the basic abilities. But yeah, the point is that if you take power actions, so if you use your power tokens that are worth twice to take power actions, and you take a power action that has an odd cost, so 3, 5, or 7, you will lose the extra power that you are. So you will lose one credit, right? Because
and the same. And the same does not apply to free actions. So you can, this signature, I think, move of Nevlas is the free action where you move 2 tokens from ball 3 to ball 1 and gain 1 ore and 1 credit.
Exactly.
Helps a lot. But if you really need a technology bump, well, that power action is almost always available because it is very difficult for normal factions to spend 7 power. Just to have them in ball 3 is not usual, but for Nevlas it's trivial because you just need 4 and you will charge like nobody else, so it will be rather easy. But you have to make a decision there, because if you desperately need a technology bump, or that could help you even if not desperately, you can decide, let's say that you have 5 power charged in ball 3, you can freeze 4 of them and you will not charge them with your abilities at the beginning of next round.
Yes.
And also they will not be available for federation this round, which can be important if it's the last round and you want to federate.
Always remember that. Don't forget, you freeze power tokens in the Gaia bowl. You cannot use them for federation forming. So careful.
On the other hand, if you have 5, you could also take the 3 knowledge power action. Then in the following round, you can freeze the remaining 1 to the Gaia bowl and get your 4th knowledge point. When can this be the case? Well, it's rather obvious, but for example, if your technology bump is going to make you charge 3 because you are passing from a level 2 to a level 3, you could decide that it's better to just spend them for your action. And since you have the charge for power-based technology tile, I will go into that later, but again, it's quite obvious. If you already use that or not can be another factor in deciding what to do. So freezing 4 is not very usual, but on the other hand, let's say that you are going to pass last. And this is often the case because Nevlas tend to do a lot of things during their round. Well, in that case, you may start the following round with all or almost all of your power in ball 3 because you charge a lot. So you will be set up for that. And then if you do not have power in ball 1, you will lose charge from other players.
Exactly.
In that case, instead, if you have power frozen in your Gaia ball, which returns in ball 1 during your Gaia phase, then the first actions of the other players could allow you to charge. So you are not losing anything. I mean, of course, you are paying points, but as we will see later, it's especially at the beginning, charge is way more important for us than a few points. And I think that I cannot do a proper guide on this. I think that players should learn by experience how the power management with Nevlas go. I will give a few hints, of course. It's not something which can be exactly described case by case. No, an important thing instead is that with Nevlas, more often than not, you will likely not need the power actions which are the ones printed on the board. But it is often better to maybe wait for a while and then have as much power charged as possible and get the resources you need from your free actions. Because especially at the beginning of a round, you might say, okay, awesome. I just have to decide which power action I'm shopping now. But let's say that you have maybe 2 powers in bowl 2, and you decide that you are rushing the 2 horse power actions, which is a very good one, or maybe the one that you will often grab more than others, I think, which is the 2K power actions, which is very good because we can decide to take that or to freeze 2 power tokens. That gives us a lot of possibilities, but the free knowledge is the most expensive for us because we need to spend 2 anyway. So why not? But in that case, you will find yourself with 2 power in bowl 1, 2 in bowl 2, and
the rest in bowl 3.
And the rest in bowl 3.
Whatever the rest is,
So maybe, I think this is good only if you're taking the 2K power actions. And even in that case, it could be better to wait a while, charge those 2 extra, waiting for another player or 2 other players to charge you, and then maybe grab the resources through your free actions or freeze your tokens for the knowledge points, because we will have a big charge at the beginning of the round, but then we are reliant exclusively on our charge 4 or on the tech bumps, or of course on charging from the other players. But especially in mid-late game, that can become very expensive in terms of points. Try to train yourself in deciding, okay, what am I going to do now? Am I getting the power action? Maybe this time I will wait. Maybe I'll grab the free action. No, but I really don't need those 2 ores now. I can then spend 2 for 1 ore and 1 credit. Try to become creative with that, because that's key to Nevlas, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Theo. The Nevlas are one of the factions that require the most careful management of the power cycle, and you are constantly confronted with the decision that is, do I take the power action that are printed on the board, and in so doing, however, I risk compromising the functionality of my power cycle for the rest of this round, or I use in a more efficient way, free conversions that, however, allow me to wait. I don't have to do that at the beginning of the round when everybody's hunting for power actions. I can do that, very late in the round, waiting, hoarding, storing more and more power tokens in bowl 3 until bowl 3 is full, and then I start spending. So you always have to balance between these 2 options. That's not always easy, and especially, as Matteo was saying, when you are considering taking the printed power action that gives you knowledge. In that case, it's even more difficult because you have to decide, do I make a free conversion? Do I take the power action? Do I freeze the tokens in the Gaia bowl? And that has to be decided on a case-by-case basis. So the general suggestion that we can give is, if the end of the round is approaching and you know that you will have a huge amount of charge at the start of the next round, then spend it. And if there are any printed power actions still available on the board, take them. And if you are planning on forming a federation next turn, then you don't really care about spending that power and putting that power on bowl 1, because it will go away next turn. So these are all things that you need to keep in mind, and they come with experience with playing the faction, I'd say.
One final thing I can say about this is that if I need some resources and I have all power charged in bowl 3, all of them, and there is a power action available printed on the board, then I will always take the power action.
Yeah, of course, take it. If everything is already, of course, we are referring to a situation in which not all of your power tokens are in bowl 3, but if you have everything in bowl 3, of course, spend them, because you want these power tokens to keep circling into your power cycle. But do not spend too much, because otherwise they will get stuck in bowl 1 and bowl 2, right? So spend a couple, spend maybe 3, and then wait for, advantages charge for other players. So, okay, we already went really deep into a complicated topic, which is like kind of an advanced part of the Nevla.
It's fundamental. It's super important.
It's a core of the faction. And also we feel a little bit guilty because we never included power CQ action in our guides. So we are talking about power and CQ actions over here, right? We will maybe return to CIQ actions later on.
Sure.
But now let's consider something very basic. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's consider very basic. So a game of Gaia Project. Let's imagine a game of Gaia Project just started, and I want to pick a faction, but I don't know what faction should I pick. I'm looking at the map now, and do I want to play Nevlas? What do the Nevlas want to find on the map? What's the relationship that Nevlas have with the map, if they have any special relation with it at all?
Well, this is quite an easy point for us. We don't need a very specific setup. What we need are, well, at least one white planet, which we can reach using a QIC, is of course not necessarily required, but always a great help. I think that Nevlas should focus more on another aspect of the map, which is try to check if that white planet is there. Of course, check if there are blue and gray planets easily available, because that will help us a lot
in the later expansion.
But especially, I would try to think what other players are going to pick after I pick Nevlas. Because this is very relieving, because finally I think we are talking about a strong faction. I think that Nevlas are underrated in general, and a bit also by us in our tires, because in our faction tires, because they are quite a strong faction. I prefer them over Eaters every day. But once we consider all other aspects of the game, we can pick Nevlas as first pick, and that can be a very strong pick. But if the other factors of the map are good for us, and we will go to those in a moment, what we need to take from the map is trying to guess which other factions will be in the game. And we have to check out if we will have a lot of neighbors, because that is more important to us than having a very good map. We're not really map dependent, actually, because Nevlas can terraform quite easily. They can, using their power, they can produce QICs if needed to colonize Gaia planets. Of course, the more white planets next to each other, the better. But it is more important for us to be charged a lot and to be charged early. We do not fall into the trap of saying, okay, I will colonize this one, then I will have a lot of neighbors. No, we can do that maybe with the first action, with the first planet we take, but we need to be charged a lot and to be charged early. So look for neighbors. Look for a good map for other players more than for you. You need neighbors. This is in common with Tacklons somehow.
Yep.
This is the only thing I have to say about this, because we really are not picky regarding the map.
All right, perfect. So white planets, if they are within CAQ distance, they're all right. So we like clusters, maybe. A nice cluster that has a white planet in its center and a lot of good planets around it where people are likely to place their initial mines.
Yeah, sure. The clusters are good, but we have also to assess if the colors which are present in that cluster, in those clusters, will likely attract factions. I mean, if we are in the clusters with, I don't know, a yellow and a blue planet, we can think, are Terrans, Lantids, Gleans, and Xenos going to be picked? Is this a very good setup for them? If there's, I don't know, an incredible setup for Terrans, we can go there without any problem, because we are better than Terrans at taking planets which are not Gaias, of course. They're trans teams, especially. So this is it. Xenos are excellent neighbors for us. Maybe the best is Lantids, but it's not a pick. Even Tacklons, I'd say, because in the end we do not compete with the same planets. But we will go to that later. So
and also maybe we like a Firak in the game.
Oh, I love when Firaks are in the game.
Yeah,
I love factory,
the charge factory that their research labs become. Nice. So we have taken a look at the map and we decided that this could possibly be a Nevla game. And the next thing that we look at our final scoring objectives. So what is the relation that the Nevlas have with final scoring objective? What is it that they like? What is it that they don't like?
Okay, so this is more crucial, actually. Well, not crucial, but more important for sure. My personal favorite is planet types. Nevlas are very good at taking different types of planets. Terraforming is quite easy for us. I will go into more detail later when talking about the research tracks. But yeah, that's a final scoring which is good for us, especially if looking at the round scoring, we see that there is a 2 points per step, per terraforming step later in the game. I think that that's one of the best final scorings for Nevlas. Structures and structures in Federation, they depend on how you play Nevlas. They are not our favorites, I think. For sure, ETARs are better than Nevlas at structures and structures in Fed, for sure. Gaia planets are a no-no for us. We are not a Gaia forming faction, and I know I will talk about this later again, but I know that someone will tell me, and someone already has. No, but once I played a great Nebula game while Gaia forming, but I don't care. That can happen, I am sure. Good for you, but I will never recommend Gaia forming with Nevlas. Never, ever. It's a no-no. We're the worst Gaia forming faction, and I have zero doubts about this. So we can take a few Gaia planets here and there, but if
I can make a case that Lantids can possibly be a worse Gaia forming faction than Nevlas, but
yeah, but once I won a Lantids game rushing the Gaia track late because I really had no idea how to score in that game. But I don't think I could do that with Nevlas.
All right, yeah, fair point.
So I don't know. So structures are not great, not terrible, but better if they're not in game. We are surprisingly good at sectors because since Nevlas are so good at taking planets distant, also distant from the color wheel, especially in the late game, we are particularly good at sniping that final planet in that final sector that we still don't have. So while not a really expanding faction, Nevlas can win at sectors, or I don't know, tie or place good by sniping planets later. It's counterintuitive. They go for sectors in the opposite way that most factions do, but they can do quite good at sectors in the end. You just have to be a bit of attention to that, but it's not really hard, to be honest. And
so the idea is that if you play correctly by the late game, you should have such an amazing economy that you can allow to spend 4 ores to snipe the last orange or yellow planet, and you will be all right.
If also planet types is in game, that could be really great because it will give one more planet type and one sector.
All right. So we like sectors, we like planet types.
On the other hand, I think that Nevlas are surprisingly bad at satellites because we want to open RPI early, of course. It's one of the best in the game. But in the end, I find myself spending 1 or 2 power tokens from time to time just to grab those extra resources, which I need to do something spectacular, usually. Spectacular because it would be impossible for other factions.
You mean burning power tokens?
Yeah, sorry, burning in order to spend them for resources and do something which other factions can only dream of. Like, I don't know, we can, with 3 power, we can build a mine and have 1 spare credit. But in the end, this hampers me a bit on the satellites side. Of course, we can know this and pay attention to that. It is very easy for us to get the 2 more tokens, but it's also one of the actions which is not convenient for us because we need to spend 3. So I prefer not to. And also, but it's a personal preference. I prefer to take federations which give me actual resources and not the 2 extra power tokens, which are basically needed if you're going to score high. We're not terrible at satellites, of course, not in the world, but I think that my personal favorite combination is planet types and sectors.
All right, I'll try to push back a little on this before we get some errata on this point. I see what you mean when you say that sometimes burning power with Nevlas is so convenient because you can get the last power token that you need in about 3. But it's also true that if you don't do that, if you manage not to do that, and you plan to spare all your power tokens for the scope of Federation forming, then you will have a considerable amount of power tokens. So in case we really focus on that, maybe we can have a good satellite game. What I will say, however, is that one of the reasons I don't think that Nevlas are particularly good at satellites is that Nevlas do not like to spend their power tokens in game. And so if around round 3 or 4, you have to form you don't really want to do that, to form a federation around 3 or 4 with a lot of satellites. You want to spare as many satellites as possible. So if, for instance, federations is the last round the scoring objective, so if round 6 is federations, and then you have saved all your power tokens for the end, then you can have a great round 6. Maybe you form 3 federation, you can spend all your satellites. At that point you no longer care, and maybe you can have a very good satellites game. But I agree with the fact that Nevlas, because of the very special relation that they entertain with their power tokens, I mean, they can be good at satellites, but you have to be careful about what you're doing and when you're doing it.
It's always very circumstantial. Of course, we do not want to burn our tokens, especially because we are charging a lot. So with Nevlas, it can happen that you have more charge than power tokens. It happens.
Yeah.
It can happen. And that's not letting that happen is, I think, the main skill that a good Nevlas player has to develop. But on the other hand, if, let's say, you are at the end of round 1 and you are alone playing, because that happens a lot of times. We have a lot of things to do during our rounds. And so I have 2 power in bowl 2, let's say. If I burn 1, I will able to build a mine at the end of round 1. And I do not think twice about doing that. I just burn that power, build my mine, and then we will see. Or maybe I need 2 more credits to build a research lab, which is going to grant me an advanced tactile before an opponent does.
Of course.
In those cases, it's...
and never think, you don't even think about it. You just do that,
It depends. Yeah, but in general, it's better not to burn them, of course. I agree.
And can I still ask you, why do you think that structures and federations are not the best objectives for Nevlas?
I think that's because of how I play Nevlas in general. I like to play Nevlas, and I will go into detail in a moment about that, as a build-up faction.
Yeah.
I like to build up a lot, then colonize, because I have to, basically. And also I have to look for places where my opponents are going to build, because I need their charge. But this prevents me from spreading a lot. And I don't think that Nevlas are anyway a good build-out faction. They are not nearly as good as the truly build-out factions, such as Embas and Gleans. They are worse than Lantids, in my opinion, in their build-up than out. And also, since they're a very economic faction, I like to go up the navigation track as late as possible. And so it will be costly for me to expand. I need to use my power to produce the QICs needed for moving. So I tend to do that as late as possible, but that hampers me a bit in scoring with structures and structures in Federation. Of course, it remains the fact that Nevlas are very good at late building, more than other factions. So providing that in play, there are not the blue and the gray player, they can do very well in the late game. But I mean, what I wanted to convey is that if I see structures or structures in Federation, I do not think, oh, this will be a great Nevla game. There are other factors which make me say that.
Or maybe they can scare not scare. I keep saying this, by the way. Score a decent second or third position on structures and Federation, but first position, I agree, it's hard, and I agree with you that Nevlas are late bloomers, late expanders. I'm not much a Nevla player, but when I do play Nevlas, I play them that way, and I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen it done. Like an early aggressive Nevla expansion with some 3, 4, 5 mines round 1, never saw that.
And for good reason. I think you are saying scare instead of score, because after all, it's Spooky November by now. So.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in the movie.
Yeah. This will be our Halloween episode. Yeah, we should have thought about something in advance. Well, Nevlas, I don't know that Nevlas are the scariest faction that we have in Gaia project, but
well, I mean, a good Nevlas player actually scares me. But
all right, okay. So yeah, fair enough.
But we are Europeans. Sorry to our US listeners, but Halloween is very new for us, so we're still taking measures. We're still appraising it. We really don't know what to do with that. Sorry, because
if you can give us an Halloween guide, we're new at this. We don't know how to play that.
Because it's a really great celebration, in my opinion.
I really like.
Yeah, once I want to be in the US during Halloween because it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
why do we have with a strong Easter, and we don't even really celebrate Easter with the Easter bunny. We don't even have the Easter bunny. We just have some very debatable traditional sweet that we eat for Easter, and we miss Halloween. I mean, the war should be should work in reverse. But anyways, why am I talking about Easter bunnies anyway?
Why not?
So
I was there. I was in Connecticut during Easter.
Oh, all right. Okay, cool.
That was really fun.
All right. So, final score objectives. That is done. What else do we want to look at when we play Nevlas? Matteo, I let you choose this one. If you want to walk me through round scoring bonuses, basic tech tiles, advanced tech tiles, or the tech tracks. What do you want to start with?
Oh, let's go in order with the round scoring. This is nice, but we really do not depend a lot on that. Of course, the more we can score, the better, but we are not really dependent on anything. Anyway, the best round bonus we can have is as I was saying, the 2 points per step as late as possible. Unlike Geodance, we don't care about having it round 6. Instead, we can score really big if we have a round 6 as step bonus.
All right.
I will recommend opening with the Planetary Institute. So we like round 1 large buildings. Also very early, basically around 1-2 points per advancement is nice, but that can happen basically as well in the late game, especially if we are going up the science track, of course. We can basically go up the tracks. I don't want to say as much as we want and whenever we want, but it's easier for us than for other factions. So 1 extra bump when we have 2 extra points, why not? What we do not like, of course, are points per Gaia planets. This is important.
Of course.
If there are late or more than, especially if there is more than 1 late bonus for Gaia planets, maybe we should think flipping the whiteboard. I think.
You're right. Of course.
That's the only thing. Because in general, we're fine. I mean, if mines are in mid-late, better for us. But trade station, we will always score something if we want to. So again, we are not really dependent on that. Not as much as we are on the basic tactiles, advanced ones.
All right. So around 1 large buildings and we're good to go, and possibly some late 2 points per step.
That's the most juicy for us. I score insane amounts when that's round 6 with Nevlas.
Yeah, but it's easy to score at least 12 points in a single round with that. Yeah.
What we really want to look at instead are 2 other things, which are basic tactiles. You know what? We just need 1. I said that before. Charge 4 as soon as possible. Zero discussion on this.
All right. Yeah, agreed. Of course.
We're all about power. We want that. And of course, the 1 or charge 1 is better for us than it is for other faction, but not as good as it is for Taclons. But we like that. Of course, 4 credits, why not? But we are going to get so many credits from power that I think we prefer the 1 credit, 1 knowledge, which is more expensive for us to get. But to be honest, all of this can be wherever they want to. What we really want is the charge 4 base tactile to be placed in one of these 3 places, basically. No, 4, which are the terraforming track. Not great, but if it's there, all right. Economy track.
Yeah.
2nd place. That's fine. I consider Nevlas, even if I know that Taclons will likely be in game, and that can be a huge problem. Or in one of the wildcard ones, of course.
All right.
But the best one is below the science track.
All
because
right.
in that case, we just have to fear some competition from Ivits on that track. But we will be totally set in that case, because it's unlikely that a lot of other factions benefit from that tile below that track as we do.
Yeah.
So that prevents a lot of competition, and that's perfect for us. But every other position is good, basically. If it's a great Nevla game, I don't mind if it's below the navigation or the int or the QIC track. That's fine for me. But these ones are the best. It's better if the one OR and one QIC is a wildcard one or sits below one of these tracks I just talked about, because we are going to need something to place an advanced tile on, and that's the best one, especially because 7 points is always good, but in the early game, I prefer 2 resources.
Yeah, of course.
And the knowledge per planet type, from time to time, I take that to get as few as 2 knowledge points, because I need to, because it's a bump, which is useful. But it's a bit of a shame, because if I take that in the late game, I can take 6 or 7 knowledge from that, because we're so good at taking planets. So, okay, I will do that if needed, and if it allows me a rush to a good advanced tile. But if the 1O or 1 QSC is in a good position for us, that's better. But really, what all you need is the charge for. If it's one of the wildcard ones, then okay. That's fine for Nevlas. No,
right.
really just that.
All right, perfect. So what we want you to take home from this is, do not play Nevlas if you don't have easy access to the charge 4 basic tactile. The same works with Taclons. It's just don't. All right. You see the charge 4 power action underneath the Gaia track. That's it. This is not a Nevla game. This is probably not a Taclon game, unless you are a very skilled, very good Taclon player. You just don't pick these factions if you don't have round 1 access to this tile.
Great. I was just going to say that, because if it's below the Gaia track, I can consider a Taclon's game. If I am 4th, there are no opportunities. People have already taken what is viable. I will pick Taclons. I know that I will not win that game, likely, but maybe the last time I did that, I play 2nd. So why not? Okay, that's fine.
You can play the very rare, very weird Gaia forming Taclon game, and it's not going to be maybe not a great game, but you'll be all right.
But if you pick Nevlas and that tile is below the Gaia track, I will ring your bell. I will be outside your door while you are playing, and I will be wearing a mask and have a bat in my hands, whether it is Halloween or not. I don't care. You don't do that. Don't do that. I will take that as an insult. I'm feeling the
Halloween mood now. I'm feeling that Halloween mood, like we're getting it. I think we're nailing it finally. Halloween mood.
I will do bad stuff to you. It will be a very bad trick from me if you do that. Don't do that. Don't pick Nevlas if the charge 4 is below the Gaia. So you might think, I will do this. I am the greatest Gaia project player ever. I will then show the world that this is doable. I have this great idea. So if I go up a lot, I will freeze 3, so it will help me charging. Stop it. Don't do that. Just don't.
All right. And so since we have all these very strong opinions about basic tactiles, do we also have very strong opinion about the advanced tactiles that the Nevlas love and should look for?
Well, yes. We are the best faction for 3 victory points per research lab. Period.
All right.
The best. If that tile, and this is why I was saying that we have to consider the research tracks probably more than everything else. But my personal ideal Nevla scenario is the 3 point per research lab on top of the science track, the charge 4 below that, and maybe not the best map in the world for Ivits, but
can I say something very quickly about this? I am not convinced that the 3 points per lab on the top of science track, or for that matter on top of on any track, is that good for Ivits.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen the Ivits rush for that in the same way as they rush for the 3 points per federation tactile, but boy, that does not work in the same way.
No, that's absolutely not the same.
Yeah, and in
Absolutely.
general, the 3 points per lab advanced tactile is not as good as the 3 points per federation. Well, first of all, because you have more federations than labs in a game normally, but then because it forces you to, to this complex math of, all right, I want to open an academy now, but if I open this academy, I lose 3 points from the tile, but there is the 5 points per large building round scoring objective, so I might open this academy and I will net 2 extra points, but then I will have to open that lab again the next round in order to get the 3 points in the next round. So it can get really messy and complicated. That tile, sometimes I've seen people fall into a trap. I've seen myself fall into that trap.
Well, of course, it's better than nothing. But what I'm afraid of is not that the IBITS player will score huge, is that they will steal the tile from me.
Yeah.
Because I have listened to this guide and they know how cool that tile is for Nevlas. Okay, no, maybe you are not the best. Maybe best codes are tied with us for that tile. But this comes from the fact that I really love Nevla labs because they synergize so well with our abilities that, yeah, 1K is in terms of efficiency better than charge 2, but not with this faction, because if we have 1 or 2 of them and RPI open, we charge so much that those tokens are going to be whatever we need, whatever we want. So we really like our research labs, in my opinion, and the more we open and keep open, the better. I will say something about academies, which I actually forgot before during the round boosters, but we want to keep our labs open at all times as soon as possible. And if we get that tile, we just get another reason to do that. And it synergizes. Right. So we can both have resources from our laboratories and scoring with no effort, basically, because we also get tiles as normal. When we open that. So that's the best advanced tech tile. My personal suggestion is to rush that tile as soon as possible. Grab that round 3, if you can. Federate, take that. Of course, take that opening a lab, because that will make you score so crazy that really a few other factions can do that. Yeah, best codes are tied for that, but for sure we are much better than they are at getting that tile. And if that
because we are faster.
Because Nevlas are faster.
Because as we have said repeatedly, they're very slow in climbing up tech tracks, but Nevlas can be fast. Yeah.
Also, Nevlas can be much more focused on the tile, on the track they want to climb.
Of course.
I mean, heaven, if that tile is on top of the science, the best. Or economy, why not? I prefer science, that's me. But
also because economy, you will have plenty of competition.
Yes, of course.
Hachalas, Taclons, maybe.
But we are good competitors, to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
Terraforming, also terraforming. Talking about advanced tiles, I talk a lot about this because I wanted to stress this out a lot. But I think that basically every tech tile works as normal for us. 3 points per fed, always try to get that, just to deny to your opponents.
Yeah, of course.
3 points per trade station. No, I don't think I wouldn't bother with that. We are also one of the factions which does not have a great relationship with the 2 points per mine, because we tend to be a build-up one. So it's unlikely that we have a lot of mines open. But on the other hand, we can extract huge value from the 3 points per mine because we are late expanders.
Yeah, all right.
So we can ruin Atlantis Day by grabbing that tile before they do. And 5 points per federation. Yeah, sure, why not?
Do we like the 2 points per advanced tech tile?
Okay, this is hard. We do, but I like to take that as a as the second advanced tile if it happens.
All right.
We do, but I wouldn't rush that. Once you are there, of course, invest in science as much as you can, which is easy for us. But yeah, we do that, but no more than the average.
I mean, my feeling is that that tile is always good, like pretty much for every faction, but it is not particularly good for Nevlas. I mean, it's not better for Nevlas than it is for an average Ambas or I don't know, because I mean, Nevlas can have games with a lot of science and tech advancement, but that is not necessarily the case, and they have to plan for that.
Well, if you plan to go to advance on the science track, of course, that's great. I mean, which you should do, in my opinion. But if it sits on top of science, well, I should take that 100%. But I know that there will be competition. In that case, IRITs will be very fierce competitors for us.
Yeah, exactly.
For example.
All right, so
maybe we can talk about round boosters, because I named those, but didn't go into detail.
Yes, exactly. We can talk about the tracks now.
Yes, of course. That would be better. Of course. My bad. Okay. This is another crucial aspect for Nevlas. What do we want to do? Okay, this is dependent on where the 3-point per lab advanced tile is, because it's in the game, right?
Yeah.
Can you confirm?
Sure it is.
Okay, great. So if it sits on top of the science track, that's the best Nevla game, in my opinion. We want to climb the science track as soon as possible. My personal ideal is, and it's quite easy to be honest, is 2 bumps on the science track as soon as possible, so that I both gain 4 knowledge points at the beginning of the round. And getting knowledge with Nevlas can be counterintuitive, because you might say, okay, but you are the faction which gets knowledge with the most ease. Why bother? Well, there are a few good reasons to do that. First is that the knowledge points are the most expensive ones in terms of power. So we have to spend a lot, even if we freeze our tokens to get 1. The other one is that...
and if we freeze, we have all the problems. We can have all the problems that we discussed at the beginning of the episode,
Of course. But also because of another reason. I mean, if you get at the top of the knowledge track, you will gain 4 knowledge points, plus 1 from your tile. It's 5. We don't get more knowledge from our labs. So maybe we have the KC based tile, so we get 6.
Yeah.
And at that point is where our ability kicks in, because it's so easy for us to get the extra 2 knowledge points, or maybe 3. And instead of making 1 tech bump per round, we can easily make 2. And that's huge. And that's huge because it comes on top of our already good economy. So I like to climb the science track whenever I can. If I have to rush the economy tile because my below 3 points per lab sits on top of it, well, I will do that. It doesn't matter. But I think that economy is a bit of a trap for Nevla players, because at the beginning, I see many players thinking that, okay, I have to go up economy because I will charge more, right? Well, yes and no. Of course, the resources are fine. But what I like to do is to go up to science 3 and then go up economy. Not to a huge extent, to be honest. But the economy track can help. If I get to economy 2, there are games where I don't climb economy at all, to be honest. But if I do, that can be fine even at 2 with, I don't know, 3 or 4 during the last rounds to score. Situationally, the top of the economy track last round can be great for us, because the charge 6 is incredible for us during the round. But I don't think that economy is a necessity. It's a fine track, but it's fine depending on what tiles are on top and at the bottom of it.
All right.
You can do totally fine with Nevlas an entire game without a single bump on the economy track. Then after science, we have to take a decision based on the game, the situation, and the feeling of the day. Why not? We can start climbing the navigation track, which, as usual, I like to avoid as much as possible. But I like to go up navigation as late as possible, because that prevents me from going up the income tracks, or to be the first to reach the top of the terraforming track, which is a track I want to climb 98% of the time.
Yeah.
We have a very special relationship with the terraforming track, in my opinion. It can be necessary to take 1 bump of terraforming, round 1, because we need the resources to do our opening, which I will describe later. But so we already are at 1, and that's fine. That's not the best, of course, but it's not the end of the world either. But also, when we reach the 3rd step of the terraforming track, at that point, our power becomes even more valuable, because when you are there and it's a step round, or you just want to dig planets which are not the white ones, things will become very sweet for you, because at that point, the 2 ores power action, the 1-step power action will become exactly the same for you.
Yeah.
They are totally interchangeable. Of course, it's better to take the 2 ores because it's more versatile. But if you really plan on digging, you can decide which one you want to deny to your opponents, because maybe you want to save that blue planet, which you are going to take in 2 or 3 actions.
Yeah.
And you absolutely want to be sure that Hadshalas will not get the blue planet. Maybe Hadshalas are not on terraforming. So you can take the 1 step, why not? Or maybe you are fine and you take the 2 ores, because better to me than to my opponent. What's more interesting?
Even if the 2 ores power action has already been taken, it's still better for you to spend just 2 tokens and gain 1 ore and 1 credit instead of taking the step 1 power action.
Because but sorry, no, I messed up a bit. Sorry, no, I meant that the 2-step power action and the 2 ores power action are the same for us. Sorry.
All right.
So we can do that. It's we can deny the 2-step, but it's already a difficult one to be taken by normal faction, let's say. But we can want to do that, and we will do. But that will cost us 3. Which is really not ideal. I don't like to do that with Nevlas. Also because I will have 3 powers in ball 1. I'd rather take the 2 ores, which is more versatile, more coveted, and that's it.
Yes.
I might want to deny the 1 step instead, which strategically sometimes is better than taking the 2 ores. I stand by that. Or even superior, as you were saying, free action of spending 2 tokens to get 1 ore, which is the same as 1 step if we are, of course, and have an extra credit. This is the reason why I usually do not deny the 1 step, because I want that credit. That's very useful for Nevlas. But it may be the case. I mean, the point is that once we are at Terraforming 3, we are very versatile with the ore management to an extent, again, that other factions can only dream of. Nobody else is as versatile as we are. Not even the Tacons. And this, I think that this is the real point of superiority of Nevlas on Taclons, because they are not that versatile in that regard, because once the brainstorm is spent, it's spent. But our power is the same. But of course, they have much more value from the single small charges throughout the turn, and that's why Taclons in general perform better. But as we were saying with Arun last time, we saw that experienced players actually do better with Nevlas than with Taclons. This is interesting. Anyway, so terraforming, we want that. If possible, we want to go to take the Federation on top of the terraforming track. Why not? If possible, we want to synchronize that with Federation bonus, of course. That's usually difficult, but not impossible, because we are very good at climbing tracks. And also, we can form federations relatively early, let's say round 3, which is not very early, actually. It's normal, but it's towards the early end of the spectrum, more easily than other factions, because we have more resources. So yeah, you should aim to do that, especially I'd say if the 5 points per fed is the round bonus number 3. If the 3rd round is for federations, since we do not expend much, we will not be able to extract a ton of value from the federation bonus late game, especially if we want to take an advanced style such as 3 point per lab, which we want to take as early as possible. We can have some extra value. We can extract some extra value from that federation on top of terraforming track, and we anyway want to climb the terraforming track. The navigation track is a necessary evil in my eyes. I tend to go up to navigation 2 because I need it. I don't want to do that, but I have to. Well, at that point, I can even decide to go up even further, because, well, when you are at level 2 of every technology track with Nevlas, you find a strange attraction towards step 3, which is usually the weakest, except for terraforming and science, because of those juicy charge 3, which are very important for us.
Of course.
And the same, of course, happens with Taclons, and even more in that case.
Yeah.
But
picking the right moment to make that movement between step 2 and step 3 of any tech track is particularly important for Nevlas, as it is for Taclons, of course.
Yes.
And it we go back to what we were saying at the beginning of the episode, the very careful management of the Nevlas power cycle.
That can make or break the game, actually, especially with the first track you decide to climb. That's why I like to find myself at science 3 at the end of round 1, because it means that I have charge 3. And likely, I already had my Planetary Institute, so that's a ton of value for me.
Yeah.
But you also have to be careful with this, because, okay, those 3 charges are nice, but at that point, you want to go up all the way to Navigation 3 at least. Otherwise, it won't be worth it. QSC track, situational, but fine. We just don't look too much at that. We're not Xenos. Gaia forming track, no, is a no.
Of course.
If the 3 point per lab is up the Gaia forming track, I will never play Nevlas. I don't care.
Of course.
No, never.
All right, so we keep hinting at this. So maybe it is time that we talk about the openings. The Nevlas opening you were referring to.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't talk about the other advanced tracks because they're quite straightforward. There's buttons, we don't like buttons because we have to take them early, but we want to take early the scoring the scoring tiles, because we already have sufficient resources. 2 points per sector. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, we're not great expanders, but better for us than for our opponents. Sorry. Yeah, openings. But before that, a quick excursus I'd like to do on round boosters, which are very, very important for Nevlas. Unlike other factions which I have discussed before, we don't like particularly the 1 ore and 1 point per mine round booster. We're not great expanders, even if we can extract good value from that. But that's likely at the end of the step round.
Yeah, maybe late game we can make some point out of that.
Yeah, the problem is that late game we want other boosters which are more important for us.
All right.
The most important boosters for Nevlas are these 2. The first one is charge 4 and 4 points at the end of the round for each large building, which is in general a strong booster. But that's hands down the best booster for round 1 for us. Also, I promised to say something about academies. And this is because I think that academies, we should open that as few as possible and as late as possible. Because our labs are way too good for us, especially if they give us scoring. But we can and should open them, say, around 5 or 6 in order to open new federations, to form new federations. And we'd like to synchronize that with the round scoring booster for large buildings and or this booster. So before I didn't say this, but the 5 points per large building for us is best if it is very early, say around 1, and very late or very late, around 5, around 6. That's fine. The best late game for us are 5 points per building and 2 points for step. So this booster is important. Charge 4 is undeniable great for us.
All right.
And also, we are going to open RPI early, so we will always have 4 points minimum from that, which is not bad at all. The best scoring booster for us, though, is another one. And is
I'm listening.
1 knowledge point and 3 points per research lab. That's ace for us. My favorite thing with Nevlas is to combine this with the 3 points per lab and score those 18 points at the end of the round, which is very satisfactory and also, well,
it can turn a bad day into a good day. If you pull that off, yeah.
And it can be also be a very real advantage, to be honest. 18 points at the end of the round are nothing to sneeze at. So that's hands down our best booster. Try to grab it round 4 and 6 for added pleasure. 2 points per trade station, not great. We want to open our research labs, not our trade stations. And credits are the resource we get more easily with our power. So we are not too fond of our trade stations. We are not that shallow. Range Range 3, okay, be wary of the range booster, because on one hand, we charge 2 from that, which is the aspect which is usually look over, but for us, it's probably the best one.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good booster. I'm not saying it's not, but do not fall into the trap of picking that round 1 if you can grab the charge 4 and large buildings booster.
Right.
That's way better for us.
Mm-hmm.
You can grab that, say, round 2, round 3, when you start expanding. It's good for the mid-game, I'd say.
So
it's weird.
That's hands down one of the best boosters for round 1 for many factions, but not for Nevlas.
Right. Probably it's better the 1 QAC and 2 credits if we just cannot pick the charge 4 because of reasons which I will now tell you. 1K 1 or that's the typical booster which value declines as the game progresses.
But round 1, maybe not so bad.
No, it's a good one.
If we do not have access, of course, to the large building one.
Yeah, that's number 1. But that's, of course, a good one. Oh, and also we are another faction which likes the 1 or and 2 extra tokens, because we may end in the situation where we will not have enough tokens to charge at the beginning of next round. And that's a great moment to take that booster. It is also good in general, maybe not to spend some power, but rather take the booster and have and charge more, so that at the beginning of next round we can go crazy with spending power. Yeah, that's another booster which has to be managed carefully. It's not very easy to do.
Yeah, everything that is related to power and power cycle has to be managed carefully with Nevlas. And as we were saying, Nevlas are not particularly fond of this idea that you have to spend satellites in order to form federations. So sometimes mid game you might find yourself needing a situation in which I could do with some extra power tokens now that I have spent them for my first or second federation, and in that case that booster comes in handy.
Indeed. When I am deciding if this could be a great Nevlas game, I look for the charge 4 and 4 points per large buildings, but especially the lab booster. That's hands down the best booster for us. It also gives us 1 extra K, which helps evening out things a lot.
Definitely.
And we can easily even those out if the booster doesn't do that on its own. So look for that booster, look for the 2 boosters, and if other players leave you the charge for round 1, grab that without thinking. Do not do the mistake I recently made in the tournament taking the QAC. No. Charge 4 every day, every single day.
All right. What does our round 1 looks like? What's our opening strategy? Okay,
time to finally talk about that. You will hear a lot of opinions on this, which is fine. We can, of course, do the so-called universal boost opening. So ending up with 2 mines, 1 trade station, and 1 research lab, which can be done, especially if the large buildings round scoring is round 2. Some people will tell you that academy opening is fine with Nevlas. Don't trust them. But to me, the best opening with Nevlas, hands down, is Planetary Institute and Research Lab.
All right.
This gives you the whole package. This gives you everything. Our Planetary Institute is maybe, I don't know if the best, but one of the best in the game for sure. So I don't see why not opening that. One might argue that it is possible that other players will not give you enough charge. So that means that you made a mistake in appraising the situation. But even in those cases, you can do that. And you have to do this in that order. I think that, 99%, my first 2 moves with Nevlas are upgrading a mine to trading station and upgrading that trading station to Planetary Institute. This means 2 things. The first one is that next round, I will have 1 extra power and charge 4. And that's good. I unlock my incredibly good ability.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, that planet will give me a charge of 3 by spending 2 powers.
Every time somebody builds something next to it.
This is not the most efficient thing, but I don't care at all, because round 1, I want to go to 0 power. To 0 scoring, sorry. I don't care at all. The more you spend, the better. And that is also true for mid-game. A few time ago, I looked at my games and I decided, okay, maybe once I spend, say, 10 points in charging, I just have to be careful, have to think a lot, but that's not true at all. The more you spend, the better with Nevlas, I think. Because, of course, if it's around 5 or 6, just think before doing that. But in general, our power is so efficient in giving our resources back that it will give back your points with interests, a compounded interest. So after we open our PI, we want to be in the situation where we have enough resources coming from those power tokens, which are now worth double. And those power will want to give us enough resources to open our research lab. There are 2 possibilities for this, actually. The second move can be upgrading, as I just said, your trade station to a PI. Or you can decide to do another very wise thing, which is to upgrade your other mine to a trade station. This move will force you towards the PI and research lab. You cannot change it at that point because you already have upgraded 2 buildings. This opening is great if round 1 is 5 points or trading station bonus. At that point, you can do that if you think that also the other mine will get charge at the beginning. Point is, you want to get as much charge as possible.
Yeah.
Then you open your research lab, your planetary institute, which is the opposite of what usually factions which open PI plus research lab do, because they usually open the research lab in order to get the resources, but you have to spend you have to spend 0 power if possible before opening your PI.
Yeah.
Because if you have the opportunity to snatch, let's say you charge 4 and you say, wow, they charge me 2. Instead of opening my PI, I can now get the 2 ores power actions, refrain from doing that, resist the urge. Because your PI will give us so much more that, I mean, if you do that, once you have 4, once before you open your PI, that will cost you 4. And you will have 2 ores in return. If you just wait and let other players rush for that and open your PI, you can have exactly the same resources, but for an expense of 3 tokens.
Yeah.
So open your PI, then open your research lab. And with that research lab, you have 100% to take the charge 4.
Of course.
Base tile. At that point, if you are at science 2 and still have your 4 knowledge, you can do the second bump, charge 3, and after your lab, you will charge 7, which is huge for round 1, especially if your tokens are worth 2 each. So at that point, you will likely have the resources to build an extra mine.
Yeah.
There can be, this is the best, of course, there can be difficulties in doing this. The only exception, I can think about this order is if the charge for tile sits below the terraforming track. In that case, I will open my research lab before, so I get the extra 2 ores from the terraforming one, and then I will open my PI. It's not ideal because I cannot go to science 3 round 1. Well, but who knows? Because maybe I will charge enough to, I don't know, get the 2K power action round 1, get the 3K power action round 1, and go to science 3 and terraforming 1. Incredible things can happen if you are wonderful things happen if you are Nevlas round 1. In general, though, I prefer to open a mine if possible, to use my QSC to just travel, have another mine ready.
Also because otherwise you will enter round 2 with no mines on the board, and
that's one of the 2 problems which Nevla can run into. The first one is being boxed, because it's easy to box us, especially if we open with this extreme build-up start. That's something we have to be very wary about. And sometimes you have to sacrifice a greater gain, but have to expand, but take a plant before something else does that. That can be really important for us. The second problem we can have is scoring, because with Nevlas, it's very easy to have a ton of resources, but we don't know how to score. And that's why I advise at the beginning to look at the beginning for the scoring, lab booster, the advanced textile for labs, because
we need points. We need points.
Exactly. These 2 things are intertwined. We want to start a game like this, then say around 2 to 3, we want to slowly expand, or not slowly, we want to expand. We want maybe to open as many research labs as possible. As I said, Federation round 3 and advanced tile for labs round 3 is fantastic. I didn't say anything about the base tile, which gives you a value of 4 for each of your large buildings. We have a strange relationship with that. Try to take that as late as possible, maybe with your first academy, because once we have that tile in play, charging from RPI will become super expensive and very inefficient. So we don't want that. Maybe it is better to open another trade station. When your first federation takes the resources to open then your lab and grab a tile. From round 4 on, I would say, that is where we stop caring about our economy. Okay, expanding will still be on order, but what we really want to do is to start firing the Nevla artillery for scoring. We want to end our turn to pass and score 9 from our advanced tile plus 8 or 9 from our booster. We want to start federating. We want to use our QICs at the beginning of the round to perform the rescore federation action before other players do.
Yeah.
And if somebody else does that,
in your face, Baltax.
Of course, as usual. But if that's not the case, because somebody else, namely Hadshalas, did that before us, never mind. We are good at terraforming, as I said. So, okay, 2 QICs. QICs are super easy for us to get from our power. That's ridiculous because with just 2 power tokens, we get 1 QIC. So I just spend 3 victory points plus 1 per planet type I have. There. Scoring. That's what we want to do from that point on. And talking about QIC actions, quick reference to this, maybe other players did not place as we want to, so we were just able to open RPI and not our lab. That can be an issue, but if we charge enough, we can decide to just build a trade station for 6 credits. That's not the end of the war for us, even round 1. But maybe we got the QIC booster and have 4 power in both 3. So we can spend those 4 power to get 2 more QICs and perform the 4 QIC action to get the charge for base tile and make a bump. And that's fine as well. I prefer the lab because you charge more and you charge more and receive more charge, of course.
Yeah.
But that can work as well. That's
fine. All right.
So yeah, we have early game, build up, mid game, try not to be boxed too much, expand as much as possible. Late game, score crazy. Around 5 or 6 per steps, do 12 points, 18. You can score 18 points in that round if you really push it. You can do crazy things that game, but do those because we need to score. We spend a lot of points in charging, and we need to have those back with interests.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the only trap that the Nevlas risk to fall into is that they have this wonderful economy, but they pay dearly for that. They tend to pay dearly for that, at least. And so you have the investments that you have to make sure that the investments that you did in the early game, come back to you with interest. Exactly.
Sure. Top tracks, top science, do bumps, do 40 plus points on science.
And you have to, of course, so you have to plan in advance to find a way to score big in the last rounds of the game. That means planning for advanced tactiles, planning for the technology tracks, and always keep an eye open for QAC actions, which are particularly easy for you to get. And you have to sacrifice some power, to get to the rescore federation action before somebody else do that, and you will solve that problem later.
Do it. By the way, if at the end of the round you have some spare power to spend, which you will charge at the beginning of next round, and you do not know what to take with that because you are basically fine with resources, when in doubt, take a QAC.
Yeah.
Because that will come handy.
All right. So this was Nevlas in a nutshell. Am I right?
Yeah. No, I'm a bit tired but satisfied because I actually like talking about Nevlas a lot. Again, I think they are underrated in general, and I must confess that in this very moment they are tied for my favorite faction in the game.
In your heart, you mean?
That's hard because
can you?
No,
no,
I can't. No.
No, you cannot say who else.
No, you know what?
In your heart.
You know what? Lantids will always be first in my heart.
All right. Okay.
But maybe Nevlas are first in my mind.
Okay. All right.
This is
Yeah, I know when the soul of a man is torn between two lovers. Yeah, that's a difficult thing. So we can maybe, so if we are done talking about Nevlas, we can maybe spend a couple of words on the ongoing EURAFRASIAN tournament. How is it going, Matteo? Has it been moving on, first of all?
Thanks for listening, and hear you on the next episode of paiagroject.
And that's it. That's all, folks.
Oh, I mean, no, I forgot that you could have asked me this because the situation is worse than dire. The situation. I ended my Hadshala's game. I was second by 2 points. To Nevlas.
All right, but it's okay because in this tournament, the important thing is not to be first or fourth. The important thing is to score as many points as you can, right?
Yeah, but 2 points. How can I swallow that? I cannot.
Yeah, I know.
But I still scored the best Hadshala's up to now. So that would be. But now Bardo ponders that as those, and I am quite scared of him. No, the thing is that okay. I ended second with Hadshala's. Not great, not terrible. But now it's my Geodan's turn. No.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this, but we actually got an errata on the Geodan's episode. It was from a guy called El Temblo or something like that. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. And El Temblo wrote me, yeah, I climbed simultaneously the science and economy track in a Geodan's game I'm playing, and it's going terrible. And that's, yeah, when I recommended client science and economy with Geodans, I didn't mean both of them simultaneously.
Okay, I could have overdone that, but in my defense, I want to say that no, seriously, the nearest orange planet from each other is 5 hexes away. How on earth could ERRATA pick Geodans in this game? It was a sadistic move. I don't.
It was like Carioca picking Lantid in our game.
So I decided to go very exotic, and round 1 I opened the QIC Academy and climbing science, getting the charge 4. So I said, okay, charge 4. I mean, something. I grabbed myself a steady income of science, but I also have the QICs, so I don't have to go up navigation. So, and plus Simone said to go up economy, so I'm going up economy after that. Why not? Round 1, I did the 4 QIC power action and picked the 1 ore, charge 1, and went up economy 1. So it was a bit like opening a mine, so because I had 1 ore. And everything said at that moment I said, okay, no, maybe I can do that. Maybe this can work. No, okay. I said round 2, if I can get the range booster, which was in play, I can get one of my home planets using the QIC and the range because they were obscenely away. But of course, that was grabbed like instantly before I could. So I said, okay, no worries. I have to colonize known home planets, but we are Geodans. So what shall I do next? Plus, in my defense again, round 2 was large buildings round. So I said, okay, now I have 1 academy. Let's open the Planetary Institute, right? Okay, maybe not, but this was, but I managed to do that. I also managed to do that after the academy round 1, PI round 2. I felt on top of the world at that moment, and then everything collapsed because at that point. The mains are satellites. Sectors and planet types. People were stealing planets from everywhere. I had nowhere to go. To grab the last Gaia, I had to use the range booster and spend 2 QICs. The first one to reach it, and the second one to colonize it. Everything was super expensive. And now we are at round 5, and I am like at 26. Stuff like that. I will be disintegrated in this game. How's your tournament going?
Well, I'd say my tournament is going as well as it could. Unfortunately, I made a very bad mistake. I have nothing to regret. I played my Eaters game and it was spectacular. I played my Lantids game and it was terrible, but as good as it was possible, to obtain in that setup. So I didn't lose many points there. Well, I've lost some, 26 ELOs again, but I didn't lose points for, tournament wide. This tournament is destroying my ELO, but tournament wide it was going all right. And then I played my EVITS game, and there was a very good setup for EVITS. I played a good EVITS game. The only thing I did wrong was that at a certain point I just did a stupid mistake. I just forgot to take the 2 QSC action.
No.
And I left it to the Ambas because I didn't, I didn't check carefully. I didn't know that anybody had already 2 QACs. So the Ambas got the action for me. And I mean, for me, it was not much because it was like 6 points, round 5, not really important. But for them, it was 9 points. And so I created a huge delta between me and the Ambas. And so I ended up third in the game instead of second. Again, no big deal for the tournament, devastating for my ELO. And most importantly, I lost 15 points to Carioca. And now we are, me and Arielito, and well, Gaia Network is not doing that great, as I have to say, but me and Arielito and Carioca, we're all pretty much tied for first place.
Oh, I see.
And so the last game will decide everything. I'll be the one playing Ambas in the last game.
Oh no!
And yep.
No. Sorry, nothing against Ambas in general, but against your Ambas performances lately.
Yeah, my Ambas performances are terrible. Have been terrible of late. Ambas have a very good setup in this map, but are also the faction that have been swinging more widely in terms of points scored in our games, because they score. I think they went from 140 something to 180 something.
Wow.
So everything will be decided. Yeah, everything will be decided in the last game, and it will be a very close competition. I really have at present. I really have no idea how that will shake out.
But that's great. I mean, the suspense until the end. That could be your game of return for
with the Ambas. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. So, hopefully, by the last episode of paiagroject, you will know. Well, the qualification of the tournaments will already have ended, and you will know who has passed to the next phase of the tournament and who has been shamefully eliminated from it. I think this is it for tonight. Am I right, Matteo?
Yep. Of course, tell us if you about the million things you won't agree with about Nevlas. But anyway, I think that especially for beginning players, that could be a helpful guide. The point is that we cannot say everything about every faction, but we can provide a solid grounding for playing those. Tell me if you liked it, and especially if you like Nevlas, which are factions, as I said, that I dig a lot. I like them a lot.
Yep. Send us your feedback via email, via Discord. Come chat with us on the BGS Discord. And why not? Board Game Geek, Home in Pigeon, whatever. And also, don't forget to rate us 5 stars if you like, or a number of stars. But 5 is
no. Say 5. Say 5. It's fine. 5 it's okay. It's okay. On Podbean and follow us.
Yes, and don't forget to follow us on Podbean.
Since you follow and since you clicked on the follow button exactly in this very moment,
since you just did that,
I just remember that I have a huge news that we forgot last time because we are awful.
What did we forget?
We forgot that not only the portal expansion is on the works for Gaia Project, but Gaia Project is in its developing stages on the Board Game Arena platform, which is a huge free gaming platform. I think that Gaia Project will be a premium game. So to open a table, you have to be a premium user. Which means basically something like €2 to €3 a month.
That's likely. I mean, we do not know that for a
no, we don't know for sure, but Terra Mystica is so also because Terra Mystica is so. But anyway, that's huge news for us. I tried to sneak into the alpha testers, but was stopped in the final stages. But that can be very interesting for both us and our community, because Board Game Arena has a very large player base. So I mean, BGS is fine, fantastic, because it kept us playing, but that can be something big for
and it can expand the community players even further. So stay in touch for further crazy developments and unexpected news.
And now for Rio, thanks for listening, and hear you on the next episode of paiagroject. Bye.
Goodbye.